Hey guys, Evan and Miranda here. I wanted to give you a moment of pause. You've dropped a guy and you had to headshot him. He's on the ground, and right about now there is a growing pool of blood forming in brain matter. I'm not trying to be gross, guys. I want to give you information to arm you with the knowledge of what to expect ahead of time. When you consider that we are seeing more and more altercations between individuals and law enforcement, or individuals by themselves, where where people are having contact shots, they're very close. You're starting to see. I'm starting to see a pattern. If you go to, I think it's Live Leak, and you watch a lot of the footage that comes out of what is it? Rio de Janeiro. Brazil, just parts of the world that are pretty wild already. You start to see many of the, I've got some of the stuff banging around in my head right now, which is why I'm having difficulty getting this out in a manner that people can understand. When the brain takes a hit, or when the heart takes enough hits that it disrupts the blood flow to the brain, you get something. I was talking with my wife about this. She's an ER nurse, and she wrote this down for me because I said I don't even really know what the medical term is. She said it's decorticate versus decerebrate posturing. Decerebrate posturing equals brain death and dying. As a hostage negotiator, when you go through the training, they show you a lot of really unsavory, unedited video of people popping themselves. They tell you this, and they prepare you for it, and they tell you you're going to see this, and we need you to understand what it looks like. That was a really hard couple of classes to go through. I did the basic and advanced schools. In law enforcement, you get exposed to these things every once in a while. But the pattern that I see when it occurs is that people don't understand what they're looking at. And what I'm talking about is when brain death occurs. Now, I'm not talking about the moment where you've shot that guy to the ground and he hits the ground. I'm talking about what occurs sometimes it occurs quite literally 6 to 7 seconds after that person has hit the ground. Sometimes I've actually seen it occur 45 seconds or longer, which all depends on how much the heart is still doing its job. Because remember, you could pop someone, put enough holes in the cardiovascular system and in the respiratory system that, like a machine, hydraulic, pneumatic, electrical, right? Same thing with the human body: hydraulic, pneumatic, electrical, cardiovascular, lungs, and then the nerve endings, the brainstem, right? If you damage enough systems in the human body, eventually, tick, 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 that brain dies. Which is why the body, from a defensive standpoint, is broken up into timers and switches. If you hit enough timers, you eventually throw the switch. If you pop that dude center, right there, in the inverted triangle, and he goes down, that's a switch. He's off. When he hits the ground, he's going to do this maneuver. So imagine that I'm laying on the ground. This is a maneuver you're going to see. And then the body's going to relax. When you see this, hey, it doesn't mean shoot him again. It means the brain is finally catching on to the idea that the person is dead, because the brain has finally begun the process of dying, which is a very fast process. Well, I'm sure that a neurologist is probably going to argue with me on that from a tactical standpoint. Meaning that how can I put this? When you're talking about shock, there's compensated shock and then there's uncompensated shock. Meaning, compensated shock, the body can do something about that blood loss. Uncompensated shock, the body has lost the fight of compensated shock and has now entered uncompensated shock, and then brain death begins to occur. There was an incident that you guys need to dig up where a person was on a city bus. I want to say it was in Ohio, had a gun. Somehow the bus got stopped by the cops. 2 officers made entry onto the bus. Not a tactical entry, just got on the bus. The The female officer had her sidearm out. The bad guy grabbed the gun. They got into it. Ended up on the floor. The backup officer busted onto the bus, and I mean, kudos to this guy. He had so much focus. He went right up to the bad guy, and he just goes boom, 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 and he just center punched that dude really close. Some of them, I think a couple of them may have even been contact shots, I can't remember. But anyways, what happened was the guy took hits so close that when the officer grabbed the female officer and starts backing her out, the bad guy postured. And I thought, oh my Lord, this cop's going to shoot him in the face again. Because the cop didn't understand, he hadn't been educated on what that looks like. The bad guy, I mean, it was quintessential textbook. The guy postured and then kind of became gelatinous goo. At that point, all muscle tone is gone, the body just goes flop. And then the guy died. The reason that this is on my heart, and the reason that when I ran this past my wife, she said, you need to do a video on that, is because knowledge is power. And if I can prepare you and if I can inoculate you against the horror, guys, I've seen that. I've seen this before. Guys, simply put, the reason I'm doing this video is I want to stress inoculate you against something that you may at some time in the future see if you have to actually shoot somebody. It is a horrific thing to see the human body do that gesture. It is downright ghastly and ghoulish to see. And I want to make sure that you're mentally prepared for what that is so that when it occurs you go, I know what that is. It should bother you if you have to take somebody's life, but if you're mentally prepared for it, it won't destroy you. Stress inoculation is a real thing. As always, I thank you guys for watching. God bless you all. Get those guns out and practice. Have a good one.